YouTube show full of fun facts you need to know. Carl rings the bell and the members show to the GMP morning show. Featured guests will come and they will blow your mind. The audience will do so in kind. The little vanity mixed with some insanity on the morning show with GMP.
Good morning, Portugal, and I'd like to welcome you to another fantastic day.
Hey, Gumpers.
Hola, bom dia, alegria. Munson here with the Good Morning Portugal show, a live stream and podcast. And I can tell you now, it's going to be one of those funny old shows. There's all sorts going on technologically this morning, including a very slow pewter this morning. So we'll see how it gets. I mean, it might be just a little bit of extra artificially intelligent, technological, unexpected items in the bagging area kind of day when anything might happen. I know it feels like that most days, but today especially so. How are you? It is one of those fifth extra days in the month. Let me explain that. The schedule, you may have noticed, if you're somebody who recognizes patterns like Mrs. M, you may well have noticed that we have somebody coming in on a first Monday of the month and a second Tuesday, etc. And then, of course, when it's a day like today, which is, I believe, the fifth Thursday of the month, we don't have anyone scheduled. And sometimes something serendipitous happens, like tomorrow we'll be talking to Coach Turner in Le Mans. We've got some lovely pictures from Coach Turner this morning. In fact, let me just show you very quickly. We've got a few Gumpers on tour around Europe at the moment from Coach Turner, who's on his way to Le Mans and will speak to us trackside, I think, tomorrow. To have a chat about the God Squad tip of the day and the program in general, Growing Old Disgracefully, the Gentle Fitness for Bon Viveurs. But here he is, en Seine. He's en Seine. He's not quite in the Seine. He's by the River Seine. And saying this morning, he didn't realize just how big the traffic can be. The ocean going, well, not ocean going, obviously, in the River Seine, but what's it called? The aquatic transport can be immense, like the ship from the company Polsteam there, with its 4-story building on there. It looks like one of those container ships, possibly, although not carrying a great deal. What is that? Were you able to see what was on there, Coach Turner? So he is on his way down France, met people coming to and from Portugal yesterday evening, apparently, as well. And this beautiful snap taken. Others from John Heimbach this morning, but the beautiful peacefulness of the River Seine this morning, and almost like a Neolithic stone structure. I know he likes a standing stone first thing in the morning, does Coach Turner. And they're saying it's a Gauguin-esque landscape. And I think this is part of France where Gauguin used to hang out, the painter, of course, Gauguin. I'm guessing before he went to the South Sea Islands, isn't that where he ended up with those slightly more, he would have been part of a neo-impressionist, possibly. I don't know, maybe one of the impressionists, Paul Gauguin. But then he had his period of going off to paint naked or topless ladies, didn't he? Which must have been quite the thing back in those days, around the end of the 19th century. Anyway, enough of topless ladies on tropical islands, although who doesn't like first thing in the morning? And let's see if the technology will support us this morning. Doesn't seem like it so far. Every time I press a button, it's very slow to respond. And I had a poor internet connection warning come up as well, although nothing has changed behind the scenes here. So maybe there are just loads of people watching Netflix down my street this morning or something along those lines. You never really can tell, can you? And also the continuing plot of Microsoft against me to constantly want to upgrade my machine, which doesn't want to upgrade, and they are locked in a mortal combat. And I fear Microsoft might win. We shall see. We shall see. So thank you very much, Coach Turner, for those early pickies. And of course, we have another video from you to climax the show later on. Some shock news about what it is to be a Gumper, thanks to Doug late last night. Shock news, in fact. He's found out what a gumper is on the Urban Dictionary, and I have to tell you, I'm not at all happy about it. So I don't, and maybe the least said, soonest mended, so to speak, with that particular issue. Although if Doug turns up, I'm sure he'll want to share his findings with you. Yesterday on the God Squad program, we talked about fitness levels, and this morning, Coach Turner from the original video will talk about the 3 basic principles that he builds the whole program around, which we will do later on in the show. A lovely video as well from Anna this morning. So I think it's only right for me to have a little sip of tea and look at some of the. They've been partying down there until I think last night in Valle Real to Sant'Antonio, and the concluding night of the Santos Populares happened last night, or thereabouts. Anyway, I think Anna's had a fine time, as is our friend Veronica, who posted up a brilliant video about getting to that secret beach she told us about of VRSA, where most people head off to Montegordo. She knows of a very quiet beach that isn't. I think maybe only Portuguese people know about it, not your global tourists. Portuguese people will fill it up, of course, in August. But at the moment, she had it, and her friend had it to themselves, and we're having a fine old time there. Let's stay in VRSA, and pictures from Anna, our Swede in Portugal, and a couple of stills for you first. Look at this, the finery in the thanks to Veronica, American in Portugal, and especially Anna Olsen, our Swede in Portugal, the American in Portugal, and the Swede in Portugal. We feel like we know this town square, don't we, in VRSA? Well, I certainly do. And a little bit of a close-up on those wonderful ladies who've made quite the effort there. Look at that in VRSA. Was that last night, Anna? And so let's share with you now some video of the dancing last night while I have a little sip of tea and sit back and enjoy this. Just over a minute of video from thank you to
Com amendoeiras em flor e para esta sua primeira apresentação.
That's lovely, isn't it? I just a little stuttered from my point of view. I don't know how other things are playing back for you this morning. I hope they're okay. I hope it's just my end, so to speak, that's letting me down this morning. Oh, and we'll go to learn about Portugal quiz question of the day, which is another one brought to you by courtesy of Phil and Maria Ruff, who did quite a lot of traveling last week. They of course captured the dolphins in the Sado estuary for us, that inspired the question about which kind of dolphin you would find in the Sado estuary. Was it the big nose, the bottleneck, or the bottlenose? Yes, but bottlenose dolphin, which of course it was the bottlenose dolphin. I confused myself there with that. So congratulations if you got that question right. That was one of our easier ones so far in these first couple of weeks of doing the Learn About Portugal quiz, which I hope you're enjoying. And we've got a cracker for you this morning as well, which I'll go to in just a moment after we've said a few hellos. And we've got more video to come of folks on tour in Europe. A great meetup yesterday. T-Duck was there. Got dad jokes for us this morning. Thank you very much. Let me just have a quick look at those. Yes, very good. Excellent. They were of excellent quality yesterday. So thank you very much, T-Duck. Of course, a deep thought and a Quem Sabia today alongside the Learn About Portugal quiz. Bom dia a todos, says Coach Turner, who we've mentioned already, who sent us the lovely images from the Seine on tour in France. Bom dia a todos. Another early start this morning after a good day's traveling yesterday. We stopped overnight at a hotel overlooking the Seine, which is lovely. You saw the pictures. Met a couple heading back from Portugal. Isn't it amazing who you meet? And I think they enjoy themselves in Portugal, don't they? Which, of course, was connected for us by Frank and also Doug and the wonderful chef Tiago Zeferino. Have you been to his restaurant there? God's Squad tip of the day then. One of the best ways to maintain muscle mass is to find a hobby that exercises you without you realizing. From hiking to dancing, walking, football, and gardening, it's important to stay moving. That's right. If you sit still for too long, you're going to get hoovered under or dusted or asked to do a job around the house. You know, that's my experience anyway. It's important to stay moving. What active hobby do you fancy taking up, so to speak? Who doesn't like taking it up first thing in the morning? And Hugger Slug James is also in. Thank you for those, Coach Turner. Bom dia, Campos. Feliz quinta a todos. Como está? Tudo bem? Muito bem, obrigado. Contigo, James. And a Bon dia Alegria, of course, as well from T-Duck this morning. Let's go straight into H.G. Wells's Deep Thought. These are short and very pithy from H.G. Wells, aren't they, this morning? And what really matters, we are told this morning by H.G. Wells, is what you do with what you have. Down-to-earth stuff there from H.G. Wells, best remembered for his science fiction novels and has been called the father of science fiction. And talking of science fiction, I was listening to that Diary of a CEO. And it might sound bitter, although I have had, I think, 350,000 podcast downloads myself with this lovely little niche that we have here in Portugal. So yeah, I don't know. I'm not so jealous and bitter of the Diary of a CEO chap. I can't remember his name now, but he posted up a video last night, like an emergency video. We need to talk about AI. And to me, it is the stuff of science fiction, which people are wanting to make science fact right now and frightening the living bejeebers out of everybody. And I'm still not impressed. I just think it's a lot of geeky people getting themselves excited about it. Can me down. My screen has disappeared just as I'm talking about. Oh, I'm back again now. Yeah, any group of experts, I think, it's this echo chamber side, an echo chamber. They tend to go to extremes, and I've yet to hear something that makes me truly terrified of AI. And that's not a challenge, by the way. I don't want you to send me a load of links that will terrify me about AI. But when I hear them speak, I just hear them locked in a world of their own imagining and the self-imposed constraints of the context of their thinking. So really, I just say, calm down, lads. You should spend more time with your family or, making love with your partner or whatever, and stop thinking so much about ones and zeros and being quite so geeky. You're disappearing up your own geeky backside, basically, with all your fears about AI. Anyway, I might be proved wrong, mightn't I? I might be hiding in a cupboard while my fridge is trying to kill me one day. Anyway, deep thoughts. What really matters is what you do with what you have. I think it's difficult to argue with that, although again, that's not a challenge. There will be semantic battles that can be had with H.G. Wells, of course, but with these things, they're not catch-all panaceas, are they? Those few words in a sentence, they're indicative. They are cliches in a way, aren't they? And they're cliches for a reason, because there's a little grain of truth in there which resonates in the intuitive part of your body. And then when you bring rational or over logical analysis to it, that's when the trouble starts. Isn't it? Doesn't it? Anyway, father of science fiction, thank you very much. And let's go into a Quem Sabia. And I'm wondering how easy it's going to be to get the image that goes with this, given some challenge got this one. See, we want a picture really of Maria Teresa Vaz Lago. And she is a Portuguese astronomer this morning. Okay, cool. I'm going to do my best to bring a picture to the screen of her for you. It's going fairly well so far. It's not rocket science, but it was for Maria here. Is that saved now? That's gone remarkably easily, or have I spoken too soon there? Oh, and yes, I am inviting you to call in today because did I interrupt myself explaining? Yes, of course, when we have a fifth Thursday, which it is today, that is not a regular routine day for somebody from the co-hosting team to join me on the screen. It's a bit of a free-for-all. So I thought maybe I should do it now in case anybody wants to call in and really test the technology, and me for that matter. We are pairing now the phone with the desk here, the Rodecaster Pro. I'll have you know, we've got a Rodecaster Pro here that makes noises like this. And we are now, I think, connected for calls, 913-590-303. If you want to call in about some of the population demographic or news headlines that I'll be looking at eventually in the show this morning. Let's see where this goes, shall we? How exciting. I can bring to the screen for you now. I think, yeah, okay, I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to say that things look like they've sorted themselves out now, because that's when things go even more wrong sometimes, isn't it? Anyway, I said it. Maria Lago, which is what I'm going to call her now, so I don't have to use all 6 or 5 of her names. Portuguese astronomer who founded the Center for Astrophysics at the University of Porto and created the first astronomy degree program in Portugal. So a nice one, Maria. Or I think I should be calling you probably Professor Lago if I'm going to be dealing with you respectfully this morning. She is currently the General Secretary of the International Astronomical Union, the IAU no less. Her research focuses on the evolution of young stars. And they presumably are no spring chickens, are they, young stars? Or have I got have I got a sort of poor grasp? Probably. I probably do have a poor grasp of astronomy. A young star, even if it's just like burst into the Milky Way as it appears to us, it's going to be quite old, isn't it, by the time that light comes to us and is received by us? Anyway, open to having my astronomy challenged and my poor grasp of it. Bit probably like my poor grasp of AI. And she actively promotes astronomy and scientific culture, excuse me. Lago served on several research organizations outside of Portugal, including the Space Science Advisory Committee of the European Space Agency and the School of Cosmic Physics in Dublin. Now, that is, they say, Groucho Marx, wasn't it, who was mentioned yesterday? Is the Doc a Groucho Marxist or a Karl Marxist? We are somehow suspect the former, do we not? Even though he claims to be a Karl Marxist, we think he's more Groucho Marxist. Anyway, that is a club I would like to belong to. It just sounds so cool, doesn't it? The School of Cosmic Physics in Dublin. And you can imagine it ends with going down the pub to talk about the ideas and having some of the best Guinness in the world. And we are still looking for the place that serves the best pint of Guinness when we go on tour from September, when we'll be in a different destination on the second weekend of every month, apart from the first one in Lisbon, which I believe is the third weekend of the month, when we'll be doing a bit of filming and hanging out with the Gumpers, although we may have changed the name Gumper by then. We are still looking for the best pint of Guinness in Portugal, of course, for Bobby O'Reilly, who called in yesterday from the Sado estuary, where he may have seen some dolphins yesterday. Anyway, he was messing about on the water yesterday. How'd you get on, Bobby, yesterday? In 1985, Lago won a Henri Chrétien. That's an interesting name, isn't it? Chrétien, a grant from the American Astronomical Society. She was also awarded the Ciencia Viva Montepio Award in 2018 for her contribution to promoting scientific culture. Nice one, Maria Lago, if you don't mind me just using 2 of your names this morning. Great stuff. I think she deserves to hear the Lucky Cockerel and the signification, or the signification, that's a Bushism, isn't it? The sign of great respect, the Hall of Fame. Here we go. Cock-a-doodle-doo, indeed. Excellent stuff with the Quem Sabia this morning, T-Duck. Thank you very much for that. Oh, Garvo's in this morning. No doubt letting us know or reminding us that on Monday, the Wine Club returns. That's been a quick month, has it not? That has flown around. And we have upgraded the Wine Club, whereupon, thanks to Gary's brother, Terence, the artist who can you see the picture behind me? It's here in the studio somewhere. It's a bit like you got it's a bit like Where's Waldo, Where's Wally? I hide things in the undergrowth here, and I did have Terence's picture that he painted live one morning on the Good Morning Portugal show. Very gifted artist. You can find him in our Gumper store, which has made its way over to learnaboutportugal.com. I'm continuing to furnish that with unusual people and brands and indie brands that you won't find in the corporate marketing sphere. over there at Learn About Portugal. And I must do the question, must come back to the question. But anyway, when Terence was hosting the wine club in our last outing with son Ben, who's always great value on the screen, they brought 2 bottles to the screen. So that's what we do now. We've got 2 Biologico whites, 2 Brancos, 2 Vinho Brancos, Vinhos Branco, and we will be tasting 2 bio organic whites and comparing them. Why didn't we think of that before with the 50 wines plus we've already tasted? I think we're over 60 wines now that we've tasted, actually, and they've all been videoed for those of you who like to deep dive into a glass of wine. Bon dia todos. Last night was the final Santos Populares celebration here in VRSA. So thank you very much for those stills and video. So much dancing and happy moments. Some great memories made there for Anna. Thank you so much, Anna, for your continued contributions on 913-590-303. Suze is in as well. Bon dia. Although I was very late and missed Nubianette by mere minutes, it was great to see you, Nubianette, at the meetup yesterday. Lovely to meet you in person. Enjoyed catching up with the Munson family. Sounding like the Von Trapps, aren't we? Mr. and Mrs. T-Duck, plus meeting others in person at the SMDP meetup, including Troy. Troy Ruff, who you renamed yesterday, and we went with it, didn't we, Suze? Me and Phil were larking about a bit yesterday with you, weren't we? We'll be at the next meetup on Wednesday. Yay, Garvo! See you there, my friend. And Andy Klein, a sometime visitor to the meetup as well. Cheers, Andy, for your fabulous documentation that has been received. Good morning, everyone. How you doing, Andy? How's the weather up there in Aveiro? Talking to people at the meetup who've travelled around the country, I think we are getting some of the coolest weather here on the Silver Coast. And yesterday went in for my first dip of the year. No, not of the year, because I think I had a dip, didn't I? It's early into the new year, because I promised Lynn, who I also saw at the meetup yesterday, I couldn't join her for the New Year's Day dip, the charity fundraiser made. But so I made the promise, so I did go in the water, I think in January, and we were in yesterday. It was a little bit of a shock to the system yesterday in the afternoon, but it was lovely nonetheless. And I will be doing more of that as part of my fitness routine. Do something you love. And I do love driving down to the beach, and I go in just to keep everything down to a life hacking minimum. I drive there in my shorts and I sit on a towel on the way home. Now, it's unfortunate when people see me like that, as Sarah and Richard did later on in the evening, with a wet shirt, which looked quite as though I hadn't been taking proper care of myself. But when I explained, I think they accepted my explanation of why I was looking a little bit soggy. But I haven't got time to do that standing on the beach with a towel around me, changing into my dry clothes after having a swim. I just sit on a towel. It's so warm in the car with the greenhouse effect. I'm like in a big tumble dryer on the way home with a slightly wet pair of trunks sat on a towel. Is that a bit yucky and slack of me? Slovenly, possibly. Sarah is here. Sarah, good morning to you. Bon dia, all okay this morning? Yeah. Didn't drink that much last night. Just had 1 or 2. Enjoying the wine, the white and the red, and some cold beer to get the party started. Great to see you. And yeah, the household is fairly quiet. Although, yes, I think what you're referring to is the sleepover. And I did have to shout like an old giffer. I was, these moments when you think, oh my God, I'm just turning into my dad. I did that. 3:30 this morning. These lads were still playing. Here, my eldest with his 2 pals. It was a sleepover night last night, and I bellowed down the stairs, "Keep the noise down!" Oh, she's done it again. I thought, I'm just so much like my dad. But I was hoping it would have the same effect as it did when my dad used to shout that, and it would absolutely shiver me timbers and cause me to be quiet. That was the effect I was looking for. So anyway, yeah, sometimes it's good to turn out like your old man as you bellow down the stairs at 3:30 in the morning. Shall I give them a little taste of their own medicine now, just before 9 o'clock, while they're snoozing on the sofas? Yeah! Might go in there with a cold hose pipe and a sweeping brush. Give them a taste of national service this morning. No, only kidding. Letting them sleep in and snooze this morning. Although they might be the challenge to the internet this morning. They might be gaming already again and throttling me bandwidth. I do not like to have my bandwidth throttled first thing in the morning. We knew what you meant, Garvo. San Martino de Porto. SMDP, not SDMP. Isn't it terrible when you try and autocorrect your autocorrect and it still comes out wrong? We know what you mean, Garvo. Calma, tranquilo. And too long a drive in a borrowed car, I discovered. Yeah, coming from the Serra Estrela mountain range to the Silver Coast yesterday. It's the winding mountain roads out of Guarda Coimbra that slowed me down. Must arrange a meet up near here and see who shows up. That's a great idea, Suze. Why don't you? It was an 8.5-hour day in that heat. And only 2 of those at the meetup. Yeah, well, you really invested in us yesterday, so thank you very much for that. Who doesn't like to hang your go-gans out first thing in the morning? Ooh,
Stop it, you idiot!
It's the wrong jingle, but it works. Meant in the best possible taste. There, Garvo Austin. Victoria Benson, good morning to you all. Bon dia, kids, from a sunny Portimao. And Alan is here. Alan. And what do they call you in Spain, Alan? Is there an equivalent in Cooler, El Puerto de Santa Maria this morning in Cadiz? Bon dia to you as well. Que tal, amigo? Spain is speaking to us via Alan Donovan this morning. Let's have a quick look in the chat, see what's going on over there. And yes, Alan in Spanish. What is that? So great to have you here. Enjoying your company, Alan. And we'll pause there before we get to Nubianette's comment, because I still, at 8:59, still haven't done the Learn About Portugal quiz for today. I'm going to risk screen sharing just for the moment because things are going so well. Today's question, and have I got this? Oh, I can share a video with you for this. Oh, yeah, that is causing problems. But anyway, there's the visual on the screen. That should help. That is a clue. That is a picture clue for today's question, which is quite simply what or where is the middle or center of Portugal? And I played a lot with punctuation in that sentence, as you'll see at learnaboutportugal.com. The answer has been framed. Is the center of Portugal Lisbon? You could be forgiven for thinking so. Is it Vila de Rei? Viladrei, the town of God? Is it the Pastéis de Belém? You could be forgiven for thinking so. Is the center of Portugal Cristiano Ronaldo? You could be forgiven for thinking so. And you could also be forgiven for thinking so. And this is quite the place to get forgiven and have your helmet blessed annually. Is Fatima the middle or center of Portugal? Which one of those is it? You might like to pop over to learnaboutportugal.com, formerly GMP VIP, to make your guess over there. We will return to the population of Portugal. And I'm going to use Worldometer as a resource for the conversation we'll be having about the population and demographics of Portugal. And you might be thinking, oh, God, really, Carl? Look, graphs and numbers. Boring. But no, it's fascinating when you see how the country has changed and where we're at the moment here in Portugal. So I'm really looking forward to that. And I urge you to stick around to find out more with me. And if time allows, we'll have a look at the news headlines as well. Have you seen anything in the English-speaking newspapers, or even the Portuguese newspapers, actually, for that matter, for you clever dicks who read the Portuguese papers and show off a little bit with your grasp of the language? Have you seen anything there in the papers that you might want to talk about, phone in about on 913-590-303? Can you believe it? The World Health Organization boss praises Portugal for tremendous work in response to COVID-19. Are you still here, Tedros, with your gold robes on and with flock wallpaper? Who was awarded, and he was in the country yesterday. I thought I felt a cold shiver down my spine. He was awarded the honoris causa doctorate from Coimbra University the day after the European Council adopted a recommendation pushed by the World Health Organization. Oh, I'm getting chills even more now, for a permanent global platform to verify health certificates. Oh, good God. All I can hear in my head is, your lack of faith disturbs me, Mr. Munson. Oh, God. I'm sorry to Star Wars fans if I completely messed that up. But that is not... I might have to have a look at that unless I'm distracted from it. Somebody save me from reading about Tedros of the Who. which is quite a cute way of referring to him. Now I say it out loud, but oh my God. And the COVID inquiry in the United Kingdom. What a load of old...
Stop it, you idiot.
Anyway, okay, back to the Learn About Portugal quiz. Oh, we already did that, didn't we? But is the centre of Portugal, the middle of Portugal, Lisbon, Vila de Rei, Pastéis de Belém, Cristiano Ronaldo, or Fatima? Gary, are we going to the Blessing of the Helmets this year? I don't know. Have we already missed it? Nubianet. Great to see you yesterday. Truly great. Where did your comment go? Did you have a nice time with us? Suze, she says, yes, I was sorry to miss you. The next bus back to Lisboa was, you could have gone with the ducks, couldn't you? The next bus back to Lisboa was 7 o'clock and I was meeting Portuguese and another internet friend. It was such a fun day. Internet friend, that sounds like imaginary friend, but you made that real yesterday, I suspect. It was such a fun day. Oh, and I've got an idea, talking of internet friends. I've got another idea for bridging the gap between those of us who are here in the morning and the majority of people who watch the show, not in real time. Should we have a pen pal system where we connect with somebody who watches later in the day? Or I did encourage people to record messages. Nobody's done that yet. But how can we encourage communication between us who are here live in the morning and those who listen later on? Can we have a nominated pen pal or a chat pal, something like that? Because we can chat with each other on the YouTube comments, can't we? Across time. H.G. Wells would have loved it. Can you imagine H.G. Wells finding out about what we get up to on our day-to-day lives today, having YouTube available to us, having the internet available to us. It's incredible. And all the wonderful things AI is going to bring us as well. The age of leisure, truly, when all the computers do all the work and we can just sit back and enjoy life as human beings arguably were meant to do. Anyway, or grow food and hang out and grow children and stuff. I was sorry to miss you, Suze. Next back was 7 o'clock and meeting Portuguese. How was that? Did you have a good evening? Such a fun day. I'd already met Victoria Benson and Jack Polly there. So I'm glad you had a great day, Nubianet. And Montegordo, wasn't he an American game show host? I am going to use that, as well as Mishta Toshta Mishta, which is one of my stage names when eventually this turns into a one-man show. I think I will have a stage persona, not unlike Fernando Pochal. I won't have as many as him, but Monty Gordo is a really good name, especially when you spell it like that. Originally of German origin or Dutch origin, I think, Monty Gordo. His family went to America in the early 1900s, and they're very proud of him because he became a massive sensation on American TV. Ladies and gentlemen, Monty Gordo! T-Duck, Suze, it was great to see you. And Taxi yesterday. Yeah, dear old Taxi. Try cleaning all your search history and any... Yeah, I do that. I'm in this loop. I'm in this hellish loop. I mean, it's not just Tedros, is it? It's bloody Bill as well. He's always interfering in people's lives, not least with the pandemic. But inside my actual laptop, I feel him work. His fingers messing around with my hard drive in there in this horrible loop of Microsoft trying to always raise the stakes with Windows and upgrade you to the point of no return. It is what they do, isn't it? Built-in obsolescence, trying to crash your old stuff so you buy new stuff. Anyway, Carl, stop moaning. Yes, it's as I said on the internet, which incidentally Bill thought would never catch on, right? Didn't he notably say that? You can there's only so much you can do about the way of life. And there are people like the World Health Organization and Bill Gates who really want to affect our way of life, let's face it. However, there is only so much we can do about what they get up to and want to impose on the rest of us. So we're just happily going about our lives, quite frankly. But we have 100% control. If we don't have much control over that, we do have 100% control over how we are being about it and how our response is to all that stuff. And I can see I'm being a little curmudgeonly and grumpy and moany about it. So I'm going to change that right now. How long it will last, I do not know. T-Duck says to Nubianet, it was a pleasure to meet you yesterday. Safe travels and hola bon dia, Nubi. That's nice, isn't it? Oh, Nubi. And thanks, T-Duck. Got a charging cord at the San Martino de Porto China shop. Drove back on a new route, so needed it. Also bought a paper roadmap to Pérouse. Are they still making paper roadmaps? And what's the quality of a paper roadmap like? Because maps can be very expensive, and I expect when they brought them down to €1 to sell at the Chinese shop, Is it a color photocopy, or did they just leave bits out? How does that work? Nubianet, thank you as well to T-Duck. Today is the last day of living without fear of being shot. My word! It's a season from ducking from fireworks and bullets. Well, bullets all year, my goodness, as you return to California. I think AI, Bobby is here. I think AI is playing with your equipment. Who doesn't like to have their equipment played with first thing in the morning? But not quite like this, Bobby O'Reilly. Hola, bon dia, to see you too. Hug a slug. Hopefully, I can meet you next time. AI, what's the best way to terrify a car? Don't stop it. I hope we're catching up with the comments here finally. I hope for the same. Says James to Nubianet. Sorry to have missed you this time around. Looks like you've had a fun and busy time. I would say so. Let's go to France now, actually, because Nubianet spent a bit of time there. And we do have some video. We go to the place of the Band of Brothers fame in France, where John Heimbach. A couple more comments, and then we'll do that. And as I said, we'll do a little bit of population and demographics of Portugal. And we've got quite a poignant video from John. And a slightly more cheerful one as he makes his way to his eponymous, is that right? Eponymous, or his homonym town that he's heading towards on his grand tour of Europe. He's having a fabulous time. He joined us for our Portugal Club meeting on Tuesday evening from Gay Paris. It was amazing, his report from Paris. My fave towns in France, Sarlat, La Canada, walled medieval town, and nearby Les Aegis, de Taillac. Les Aisies de Taillac, with Cro-Magnon cliff homes behind and a statue of Cro-Magnon man. I'd love to see the picture of the Cro-Magnon man. That's a great comparison, isn't it? The Cro-Magnon man on the one side of the meme and your AI guy on the other. Truffles and foie gras too. Is that what you did when you were in France, Suze? John's there now. Let's have a look at his first video on the road from Europe. This might be France. Actually, no, let's look at his stills first, actually. Let me just remove your comment there, Sue, so we can see this in full Technicolor, widescreen CinemaScope, and we'll come back to Dougie and your comment about astronomy. It's not rocket science, you know, Doug. And let's have a look then at John's pickies, his still pickies from the European tour. And we have here a beautiful chateau style gardening going on there. That does look a lot like France, doesn't it? And there he is headed to Heimbach, as presumably he's gone into Germany, across the French border into Germany there. Amazing, sacré bleu. Isn't that great when you see? I've never seen Munson on a sign, although Munson is a term of unendearment and put down, isn't it, in America? So especially if you watch the Kingpin movie with what's the actor in Kingpin? Can't remember his name now. Anyway, an interesting fella and a funny guy, as well as he has a pithy comment or two on society, doesn't he? And his name is on the tip of my tongue. Thank you if somebody can help me with that. Let's go from John's stills of Heimbach and the French chateau to a little bit of road trip action here.
Coming into the town of Heimbach.
Please turn right in 200 meters.
Here's my castle. Town.
Amazing, rocking up in the town of your own name there. That's John Heimbach. Well, I call him Heimbach, and there he is in Heimbach in Germany. So yes, obviously taking in Germany as well as France and Spain, a wonderful road trip. And I love it, John. Absolutely love it. The footage that you share with us, and this slightly poignant video. Let me just set it up as you've described it, John, if I may. Here, slightly more poignant video than the one we've just seen. Today, it says, John, we had lunch in Bastogne, and took a somber walk through some woods defended by the 101st Airborne Division, made famous by the Band of Brothers series. See video commentary. So let's do that now.
Okay, World War II and Band of Brothers fans, we are at the Battle of Bastogne. We are in the front lines of the woods across the fields from the little town of Foy. Bastogne is about 5 kilometers in that direction. So imagine, if you will, freezing cold temperatures, snow all around the ground, ill-equipped, improper winter clothing, defending against the Germans set up across there, incoming fire in the trees, exploding overhead. And you just have a little foxhole for shelter, hopefully with some dry socks and good shoes, but maybe not. With your buddy in the foxhole. No atheists in foxholes. And here it is, a beautiful summer's day with 21 degrees. Thank you, gentlemen. Very much appreciated.
Oh, incredible commentary there, John. I'd not seen that before. I completely trust with John with what he sends me. I'd not seen that before, and that is a very poignant commentary. Quite brilliant. You'd have no idea, would you, on a summer's day, that what had gone on there, apart from John's commentary and obviously what he learned by being there. Incredible. Thank you so much. Gumpers on tour around Europe. Thank you, Coach Turner, for your pictures from the Seine this morning. Good luck, bon voyage, onward journey for you towards Le Mans. And I think John, the team Heimbach are heading north now, so we can expect more. And this is the wonderful thing, isn't it, about being in Portugal, the road trips you can have in Europe as you set off from here, the westernmost flank of Europe, looking out towards the Atlantic, and you can get a sense of that adventurous spirit that, of course, is part of the Portuguese DNA as you go about your own road trips around Europe. Incredible. Thank you, Ian. Thank you, John, this morning. Let's get back to your comments. That was very moving. Thank you, John. Astronomy, then, Douglas says, a very interesting, mind-boggling subject. T-Duck says, astronomy is looking up. Wrong jingle, but again, good work. Come here. Not a bad response to a dad joke. Yes. Astronomy is looking up and interstellar matter is a gas. Extra dad jokes this morning. It was a very busy trip, says Nubianet, but I took a few pauses in the middle of my trip so I wouldn't burn out by the end. I think I did a pretty good job. Why not publish your itinerary, Nubianet? It sounded amazing, especially for people who do want to do some of that European touring. You hopped over to Marseille and had a great time over there as well, didn't you, with relatives over that way? So what a great trip. And we're especially interested to learn about your itinerary and places you stayed, things you enjoyed, especially. I think you had some great food, didn't you, whilst here in Portugal? So do please share that with us. And good on you, Nubianet, says James. Yeah, I think referring to your mindful approach to touring with some time in there, some downtime to take it easy. And next time, see you next time, says Nubi, for sure. Sue's to Nubianet there. And bon dia, Jim's with us. Bon dia, todos. I dropped you a message, Jim, about putting your book in our bookstore as well. I can see it in the studio. Jim is part of the team that put together the book Life-Changing Workshops, and there is a link to it. If you go to learn about Portugal, there is a lovely little, the beginnings of a bookstore book club, which features people from our community. There's quite a few people who've been involved in writing books. I'm also interested in your favorite recommendations, books about Portugal, books written in Portugal, some books in Portuguese, right? So that we can learn the language, and experts like Jim who've also written books. Let's share those with the rest of Gumperdom. over there at Learn About Portugal in that collection of books. And that includes John Brand's poetry as well. Things I might have said. Some of those are downright bawdy. He's a true Gumper for sure. Although, yeah, as I said, I'm a little bit concerned about the Urban Dictionary definition of Gumper this morning, which came as a bit of a shock to me late last night. I think Doug might have had 1 or 2 glasses of wine, looked up what Gumper is on the internet, and was quite tickled by the results he got. We may have to change the name, guys. Have a great day, friends. I need to leave early. Ciao, ciao, and bon dia a todos. As one goes out, one comes in. Antonio F. with the bon dia a todos for the rest of us here. And Alan doesn't translate into Spanish, I believe. So there you go. Senora Alan, you will remain in that case. PT Country Bear, the centre of Portugal is where you can get the best chocolate cake. If you know, you know, and clearly you do know a PT Country Bear. And if I put that picture up on the screen, those of you like Suze who are looking at this on a massive high definition TV will see the hashtag just in the top left-hand corner of that frame. This is a little bit of a visual clue for you. This is the centre of Portugal. So it doesn't look like it could be Cristiano Ronaldo's house, couldn't it? Could it be Fatima? I don't think so. You don't get that sort of elevation at Fatima, but maybe you do from one aspect of it. Maybe your view of the world is heightened after having your helmet blessed in Fatima. I'm not going to give too much away at the moment, but there is a hashtag, a really long hashtag there about bolo de chocolat, which is what PT Country Bear Marcus is referring to here. Thank you for decoding that for me. I didn't know what that meant. But the best chocolate cake, it's worth the pilgrimage, is it not, to the centre, the middle of Portugal? And that will be revealed tonight over at Learn About Portugal, the correct answer. Pop over there if you want to make your own guess, learnaboutportugal.com. Okay, let's get back to your comments and eventually get round to population and demographics. Early yesterday evening, there were 10,108,968 people. It's a live counter, which presumably then is, has the Portuguese Health Service logging new births and deaths, of course, to keep the population bang up to date here in Portugal. It's got to be give or take a few, hasn't it? With home births that drift in later than planned and so on. But I'm sure that's the best that we can do, the cutting edge of data collection right now. 10 million then, 108,968. We'll be deep diving a bit further into the population and demographics. I came across it because I was looking for population density. I was thinking of a question around population density and this incredible phenomenon in Portugal of how so many people, nearly 70% of people, live in an urban lifestyle, urban landscape rather than rural. And that's changed. It's pretty much flipped over time, of course. And yeah, of course, it's changed over time because we haven't always been urban. But I'm talking about in recent history, how a dramatic change has happened there. More about that after we've politely finished saying hi to everybody, including a newbie here. We've got a newbie in there and a noob here, Yvonne Gomes from Manila, the Philippines. How are you, Yvonne? How lovely to see you. Bon dia, regards from Manila. In the Philippines there. How lovely to have your company. And Raj, who's an occasional visitor as well. Bon dia todos to you, Raj, as well this morning. Oh, and I think another friend, an old friend of the community here. And thank you for your kind words the other day, Juini Deutsch. Bon dia to you and a lovely offer. So thank you very much. Yes, we'll pop and see you soon. Lovely to see so many old friends and 1 or 2 noobs here as well this morning. Fantastic. And to find out about chocolate cake, of course, in the centre of Portugal. Cool 18 degrees and cloudy morning. Whew, relief for Suze. The heat was getting to you a bit, I think, wasn't it, in Central? Plus, it was misting on us during dog walk before the show this morning. That's nice, isn't it? A little bit of cool mist on the face in the atmosphere. We had a lot of sea condensation late last night after a warm day. All the cars were covered in a condensation last night. It's a bit of a damp end to the day, but very refreshing. I'm pleased for you that you've got a cool 18 this morning, Suze. A bit of respite from the heat. Also, sorry, a last moment work came up, couldn't dodge it. Antonio F, it happens, doesn't it? So that means that we have to have Nubianet come back soon. I mean, that's basically the solution, isn't it? Hola, bon dia. The centre of Portugal is Vila de Rei, says this Facebook user. I made a fitness video there. Who are you? I wonder. And news, 19 people arrested in a police raid in Lisbon. Thank you for these news flashes, Antonio F, for aiding illegal immigration and document forgery. by providing false statements for atestados de residencia. Do not be tempted to get involved in that malarkey, anybody. We cannot in any way condone that sort of behavior. It makes it difficult for everybody. I think just appealing to people's or satisfying greed and appealing to people's desperation as a way of proving residency or having somewhere to live. The alternative to which, of course, is to have 12 months of a lease. So that might come up tonight when I'm talking to the Dream Team. I want to talk to Daniel, if possible, about these changes to the latest iteration and suggestions around the golden visa, which isn't 6 foot under, it would appear. It's just a flesh wound that the golden visa has experienced, it would seem. So I could talk to Daniel about that and other members of the Dream Team. We had a lovely chat, didn't we, yesterday with Jackie. Jackie and I talking about the Dream Team, having hung out with them a couple of weeks ago at Down Under, a team building event, she called it, and we'll be with them tonight at 9. Before that, at 7:30, we've got the currency coach, yes, our friend Sarah Davey, who's with us for to tell us about the top 5 tips for moving your money to and from Portugal with Spartan FX, expert tips to save money, time, and stress. Join us at 7:30 for that. We'll be chatting to Sarah with a little bit of Portuguese. I'll throw a little bit of Portuguese her way because we're teaching her, aren't we? And I think that's going fairly well. I think she's gone from being completely terrified to having a little bit of a go and enjoying herself. Woody Harrelson, yes! That was the name. That was on the tip of my tongue. And Kingpin is a funny movie, but the Munsons do not end up well. And it's not the only movie where I've seen Munson used as a derogatory term. You're like, you've been Munsoned. Well, it happens. Between July the 5th and 29th, a Roman play written by, this is like Biggest Dickus, isn't it? A Roman called Tito, or probably you don't say it quite like that, but Tito Massio Plauto will be played in Lisbon's Roman Theatre, built 2,000 years ago. Tickets a mere €6, although that is probably quite inflationary compared to the denarii that would have been paid back 2,000 years ago. Amazing, though. You can see a play, original Roman play written by Tito Massio Plauto. Thank you, Antonio F., for a real gem there. Between July the 5th and 29th. Toga's optional. When you're sitting in an amphitheater, I think you have to adjust your toga correctly so as not to frighten the horses, possibly. Send pics of roadmap. You have a view. Oh, excellent. All right. Thank you, Suze, for those. Great stuff. And Cro-Magnon Man. You found us, Cro-Magnon Man. And a magnificent map. Do you think maps are going to make a comeback? You know, like vinyl's made a comeback. I think we might see maps make a comeback as well. That Cro-Magnon Man is fantastic. I'll bring him to the screen in just a moment too. And I'm getting, and beautiful. Thank you very much for that, Alan. Midnight in El Puerto. The cistern in the background is where the Portuguese explorer Colombo filled his water barrels before setting on his voyage for India. Well, I'm trying to download it, Alan. I'm having a bit of trouble with that. No, here we go. We've got it. So El Puerto at midnight to come. And we haven't even started talking about population and demographics yet. But thank you so much for those contributions on 913-590-303, the number you can call as well if you would like to talk about anything that comes up today. And especially so probably with the demographics and maybe if we get to the news stories. So Woody Harrelson, thank you very much. Apparently they do it once a year since 2016. Who doesn't like to do it once a year, first thing in the morning? Old Roman plays in the ancient Roman theatre, that is. Thank you very much. And yes, maps. For some reason, I'm thinking, how the Romans might have mapped Portugal and how far we've come since those days of their straight roads up and down and across Portugal. Here is Suze's map then. How much did it cost you, Suze? And I actually do predict a return to the paper map, just as we've seen a return to vinyl. And when I first came to Portugal, actually, I think I bought a paper map. You get a very different view of things, don't you, with a paper map that you can look at lovingly and leisurely, rather than the rather stressful circumstances in which we view Google Maps sometimes. Anyway, here is your beautiful map, completely unfurled. There we go, our familiar and beloved Portugal there in the map. And Alan's midnight at El Puerto. Excuse me a minute, Suze. Let me just move your comment. and you can see the cistern that was filled before setting off on the voyage for India. Portuguese adventurers, voyagers, explorers stopping off in El Puerto. Looks like a nice little town there, and buzzing at midnight, as you can see there. And the Spanish and the Portuguese, much the same. The whole family still out at midnight. Fantastic. Thank you very much, Alan. Keep them coming on 913-590-303. Didn't we have a Cro-Magnon man as well to share with everybody, Suze, this morning? I think we did. We're having a slightly different morning. It is the 5th Thursday, so we have an unscheduled item in the bagging area, of course, when this happens. Today we're looking at population and demographics. Well, we might. We're an hour in and we still haven't. The prehistoric tourist, the Cro-Magnon man. Did you do a selfie with? Oh no, maybe you can't get to the Cro-Magnon man there. An interesting, from a distance, could be a Roman centurion, right? What's going on there, Suze? What was the garb and the weapon? What was that all about? And what time period are we talking about? What is the Cro-Magnon period? If someone, for some reason, it doesn't come immediately to mind. I know, but for others, it might. Oh, Claire. Hello, Claire. Fantastic 50s. That's going back, isn't it? That's at the start of the Good Morning Portugal show, when we used to chat with you about the Fantastic 50s YouTube channel. Claire Bendel, you did a Fantastic 50s video up there at the middle centre of Portugal. Thank you very much. Thank you for being here this morning as well. How lovely. What is it about this morning that's brought so many old friends to the show, I wonder? Okay, that's that Roman play in Lisbon then between the 5th and 29th of July. We found out who Woody Harrelson, or that who is the lead in Kingpin. And maybe next year, says Suze, that would be fantastic. The Roman play in a Roman theatre now on the bucket list. And Stephen Wells, you've been Munsoned. Does that mean you've been muted? Yeah, it's when everything slows down and the computer processing is impeded somewhat, or you can't get a decent connection to the internet. Yes, maybe that will become a verb in common parlance after all these live streaming efforts that are sometimes ill-fated. Obrigada pela dica. Estarei em Lisboa a partir de 21 de julho. I'll check it out. Yvonne Gomes in Manila this morning. How about that? Not this morning for you, Yvonne, of course. What time is it there? You're after lunchtime, aren't you? Mid-afternoon, perhaps, in Manila right now. Map cost $5.95. Backup plan if the GPS fails, which it sometimes does, right? In the middle of nowhere. Ubi's here as well. Bon dia de Evra this morning. And Columbus set out for India, but found North America. There you go. Maps never went out of style, in my humble opinion. Yep, okay, fair enough. In the same way that vinyl didn't for some others as well. Okay, let's get into that population and demographics stuff, shall we? And let's look at Worldometer for this. I need to reiterate with you. Oh, now I've opened up a few more tabs. We seem to have a little bit of a. We've been Munsoned. We've been Munsoned. Oh no, we're back again now. Fantastic. We're looking at, first of all, we'll go to the Learn About Portugal question of the day, which is quite simply, what or where is the middle or centre of Portugal? We have a picture clue, which I'll show you again in just a moment. Is it Lisbon? Is it Vila de Rei? Is it Pastéis de Belém? Is it Cristiano Ronaldo? Or is it Fatima? And this question has been framed beautifully by Phil Ruff. There's a nice little whimsical touch there. Have a look at the view. We've got a picture of it for you right there. And isn't it funny? This happens, doesn't it? You know, you'll go to someone's house and they'll have a beautiful view, and they'll have paintings of beautiful views as well. As if the natural picture isn't good enough. I saw this in caravans actually in Bournemouth, the place where I scattered my father's ashes, incidentally, a place he loved. And there were lots of static caravans along the coast, and people had the view of the sea, but they also had pictures of the sea inside their caravans. Aren't us human beings strange? But maybe they had a view of the sea, a treasured view of the sea from somewhere else. I don't know. Who am I to cast nasturtiums at people's visual and pictorial preferences? Okay, then I say back to because we never even got there in the first place, but I'm going to try and share a screen now. Put your seatbelt on and hold tight. Wear a mask and a crash helmet here. We're going to Worldometer and having a look at some of the facts and figures. Portugal's vital statistics, you might say. Oh, that's stretching the system's resources right there. And I hope to be back with you on the screen in just a moment. Let's see if that's happening. Oh, Portugal population retrieving data now. That's what's happening. And it looks to me like I've frozen up as a result. Let's see what happens. I'm going to shut a few of the tabs here this morning and see if that helps as well. We're shutting down everything, Captain. And we will have a look at world population, worldometer, I should say, and Portugal's population. So as it stands right now, and I'll bring it to the screen for you, and you can see this for yourself at worldometer. The population of Portugal, the live numbers are 10,108,913. That's a few more since last night, isn't it? Which may add the fuel to the fires that we are overpopulating the world. But I saw a very interesting video on trigonometry, the trigonometry vodcast. And there was a speaker on there, forgive me because I can't remember his name, but I think his documentary was The Population Bomb. Ultimately, we are facing a huge population collapse after it's peaked at about 11 billion in what, 2020, in the 2030s, 2040s. Given where we're at the moment and how and less children are being born, we're having a bit of a population collapse, or the beginnings of a population collapse. Look it up. Do your own research, as it were. But here we go. We're looking at the growth rate of population as well and the numbers. And there's been a bit of a wavy line. My favorite part of this graph is in 1974, the yearly population growth rate went up as high as 1.48%. But 1974, check out that date. People felt after the revolution, well, let's put it this way. They celebrated in a certain way, didn't they? And there was a little bit of a population boom, or the beginnings of one, because that's how it works, isn't it? You know, when we're created, our effects are felt over our whole lifetime, and they're all scaled up across the population. So, you know, what's happening now, the amount of children born now will be affecting the current demographics. You know, we've got an aging population, haven't we? And not many young people being born, or not as many as we thought there might be. And that's creating quite a worldwide difficulty, or will do in time to come. Let's have a look at these bullet points. The current population of Portugal is over 10 million, 10,100,000. This was today's data, or yesterday's data, 10,108,267. Based on the Worldometer elaboration of the latest United Nations data. And who am I to doubt it? Population 2020 is estimated at 10. Why is it population 2020 estimated if it's now 2023? Anyway, forget that bit. But Portugal's population is equivalent to 0.13% of the total world population, ranking at 89 in the list of countries. And that makes for an interesting list, with loads of countries and dependencies, by the way, not just countries, but dependencies, some of which I've never even heard of. If you want to have a look over at that at your leisure, at worldometer.info. Population density, and this is where I began this search last night. Population density in Portugal is 111 per square kilometer. 288 people per million squared. Now, you know, what is your reference point there? But the population density in Portugal is low, let's face it. Depending on where you go, your experience of that, of course, will be different in Lisbon and Porto and on the Silver Coast, where most people are, or the coast in general. But you can experience some really low and lovely population density in the Portuguese interior. And I noticed just recently there is a new initiative published to encourage people with tax breaks and other bonuses and perks to move into the interior. The government is doing something to try and lure people back to the interior, which I thoroughly applaud. Total land area is 91,590 square kilometers, which means that Portugal can fit into Central Park in New York, apparently. Only kidding. But you get the gist of what I'm saying. It is a tiny place within the scheme of things, and does fit into quite a few American states in its entirety as a country here. 66.5%, then I rounded that up to 70, but 66.5% of the population is urban, and the median age in Portugal is 46.2 years. Quite a few of us here over that median age, I think. So here we go. Population of Portugal. In 1955, it was 8,625,000. And of course, in 2020, the stats show 10 million, nearly 10,200,000 there. And it's hovered around. Well, it was in 1955 was 47 in the world rankings of population, and now 89th, which is interesting, isn't it? So it's dropped in that sort of population impact estimation there. Population forecast. This I find interesting as well. So if you have been brought up on many of the givens of socioeconomics and the way the world is headed, you know, the things about the environment, there are certain sort of indoctrinations, aren't there, and givens as you're being educated, and what we would have ourselves believe generally. So if I just scroll down a little bit, we might be thinking, mightn't we, that it's 2020 figures are 10 million people in Portugal. Oh my God, it's going to be 20 million by 2050 with the population boom and all these people on the planet. As it turns out, United Nations prediction here, 9 million. It's going to drop. It's going to drop steadily between now and 2050. Yeah, it will go up in the world rankings of populous nations, as I understand it, as I've interpreted here. And you know, numbers aren't my favorite or best thing in life. Any of you who know me, I do get a kind of number blindness that goes on. Dyscalculia, is it? I might have a mild form of that. And migrants as well, those numbers there, and the median age changing to 52, interestingly, as well. Population density will go down. Urban population will go up by their estimation to 78.5%. And that's to get everybody into the 15-minute cities, isn't it? Portugal demographics then, life expectancy currently 82.65 years. That's life expectancy at birth of both sexes. Infant mortality 2.3. And we have a historical chart to look at there. And of course, thankfully, that has gone down progressively over time. And deaths in the underage 5 group, 2.7 per 1,000 live births. Again, a pattern that we're glad to see going down. Main cities by population in Portugal, just over 500,000 in Lisbon, just under 250,000 in Porto. And regions that I don't normally see as classifications here. And I'll come back to your comments in just a moment, just get a little bit of a way through this. Évora, where Ubi is, 55,000 people. These are tiny towns, aren't they? Tiny cities by other standards in the world. Funchal has 100,000, just over 100,000. Braga, 120,000. Very interesting. And this reflects, doesn't it, the low population density of Portugal. A mere 33,000 in Castelo Branco. Many of them with white vans. No, actually, probably the people with white vans and dogs on strings in Castelo Branco probably won't be in the official figures. I jest. Or do I? And in Sintra, a mere 26,000 people. Viseu, 26,000 people as well. São Martinho, not this one. Or is it? 26,000. And this population, of course, here in São Martinho really varies throughout the year. Caldas de Rainha, 27,000. Very interesting stuff here, I think. Thank you to Worldometers for sharing it with us and being able to share it with you this morning. I'll come back. I might deep dive a little bit further, or I might be lured, as we've only got 20 minutes to go, to some of the news headlines. But we can go into fertility rates and gross domestic product and countries in the EU by population and scale it up and get a bit more a little bit more comparison there. But urban versus rural population, I always think is very interesting. But I want to see what you're saying in the chat. Why am I getting job adverts for a DevOps repository manager? It's not something I've ever done in my life, quite frankly. Yes, urban. I'll come back to this. The urban, how that's changed, the urban-rural population ratio. So thank you, Worldometer. And let's see what you're saying in the comments. Quite a few comments this morning. Thank you very much. We will scroll back then in that case and see what you're saying here. And we've got the dad jokes to come. And of course, climaxing this morning with another installment of the God Squad program from Coach Turner, Gentle Fitness for the bon viveurs. Yes, maps never went out of style for as far as Ubi's concerned. Have you already visited in Évora the Roman Temple and the Capela dos Ossos, the Bones Chapel? That is a major tourism destination, isn't it, in Évora? And known, I think, as well, Évora, increasingly for its culinary and cuisine-based experiences there. I always like paper as backup and primary graphic. I still prefer a good drafting table, lead holder, and quill pen. I can just imagine, and working by candlelight, even if the sun is shining, just for that feeling of being somewhat dated and traditional, Ubi. Antonio, yes, a family there now, have done it once, plus a lifetime of pilgrimages, Catholic piety, and mortifications. Are you going to join us on screen one day, Ubi? You're an interesting chap. I'm strolling up to the Bone Church now, no euphemism there, channeling Our Lady of Perpetual Responsibility. It's often interesting, isn't it, the impact that a Catholic upbringing can have on people. Antonio, I was in Everett already, but I didn't visit those places. I have to do it, says Antonio, to himself, possibly there this morning. Estou muito bem, Antonio. Eu danço e ponto muito todos os dias. So there you go, having a lot of fun. It's Victoria Benson. Hola, bon dia, kids. It's Victoria Benson in the Algarve. Okay. Squire of the Shires also in. How are you doing this morning? Am I on the right lines there with Square Eyes of the Shires? I wonder. Bon dia todos. Pessoas boas this morning, and loving it. Yes, your A1, A2 is showing, if you don't mind me saying so. Ms. Benson. By Andy is here. Bon dia Malta. Just back from a beautiful, peaceful walk through the Portuguese countryside with a lovely cool breeze. Cheers. Bye, Andy. Good to see you, and nice to be conversing with you on WhatsApp as well. Just for comparison, then, when we look at the populations here in Portugal, as we were just now, Los Angeles metropolitan population 12.5 million. Oh my goodness, aren't we lucky over here? And is a question in from Suze. Where should I arrange a meetup? Guarda Visio, realizing public transport may influence decisions to come. Well, just the Discover Portugal weekends, which will be starting in September of this year, Visio and Guarda could be candidates. So why, rather than having people going over there for 2 hours for a meetup, if somebody wants to offer their quite sort of loose hosting services, and by that I don't mean loose in the sexual sense, I mean it's not going to be too much of an onerous responsibility. We're looking for people who want to say, come to my town, I will connect you with local tour guides, I'll tell you about a few of the good restaurants and hotels, and you pick and choose where you want to go, and we can meet up from time to time, and we're going to have a good old pee up on a Saturday night in all of these places. We're going to have a party on the Saturday evening probably at one of the bigger restaurants or hotels. People can be free to come and go, but let's go there for the weekend rather than just driving over like you did, Suze. You know, you spent 8 hours in the car to spend 2 hours with people. Why don't we do it so that we can arrive on a Friday night or a Saturday morning and hang out in places like Guarda and Visio? This could be very good for people who are coming on scouting trips, for example. So put yourself forward, Suze, whichever you prefer, really. We need people who know a little bit about their town and can make those sort of recommendations. You're not going to be responsible for everybody's fun, happiness, and enjoyment over that weekend. You're just going to be doing a bit of signposting and being proud of your location. So suggestions most welcome. Do send them to me. You can do that on 913-590-303. And Antonio's town does show up on that list in the top 10. What is it, Oeiras, that was in there, Antonio? I'm thinking maybe Penacova Beach. The bus does go there. Penacova, or Penacova, not too far from Coimbra, right? So I guess when we have our Coimbra meetup, we could be spending a bit of time at Penacova as well. Do like it there. That's if I've got that right. Okay, it is a have your say day if you wish, and people you have been, of course, in the chat. If you want to call in on 913-590-303, you can. I think I've played all the video I've got, apart from the video, the God Squad program video that's looking at the 3 basic principles earlier on. Yes, I have. So, John, thank you. Anna, thank you very much indeed as well for your contributions this morning, as well as Coach Turner, both ends of the show, as it turns out, this morning. So let's go back to your comments and this population and demographics, and a quick look at the some of the news headlines as well. Morning, love. I want to just acknowledge your commitment. You must be exhausted. To the audience, why might Carl be so tired? He. Not that on this occasion. Flipping kids mucking about until the early hours of the morning. I've already said, Mrs. M, Feel Good Astrology, Mrs. M, that I bellowed down the stairs and thought to myself, "Oh my God, I've turned into my dad." But in that, it was good to be challenging old man Munson at 3:30 this morning, and I'm not too tired. This community gives me wings and life. It's like my virtual Red Bull, quite frankly. It's like a double espresso every morning, being with everybody here. Bon dia, Antonio. Late landing this morning, GMP, school trip day for the little one, and stable run for the Falabella. Simon, then, with a possibly, I don't know. So I'm going with either Square Eyes of the Shires or Sci-Fi there. It's so confusing with all of these nom de plumes and pseudonyms that people use. Forgive me if I get them wrong. But yes, thank you for thinking of me this morning. And a cup of coffee. That would be so great. But you have a lie-in because you must be exhausted too. And no, not for that reason. Maybe later, hey, Mrs. M. Okay, back to the demographics you can see on screen there. And I find this interesting about Portugal because, as I said, I was looking up population density, which led me into worldometers and all of these incredible facts and figures here. And you can see this blue and green here. 1955, the rural population was 5,767,500, and the urban population was a mere 2,857,000. And so, look, it's changed. It's flipped pretty much completely, hasn't it? Although the population has also increased overall, we can see that we have here in Portugal become more of an urban species than a rural one. What do you think of that? I mean, for me, why I came to Portugal in the first place was to experience a rural life. That hasn't happened, as it turns out. And there are a number of reasons for that. As much as I would love, and Mrs. M, I think, would love to live a rural existence, it does bring with it certain challenges, doesn't it? And car dependency. And I suppose that's the problem, as is expressed on this demographic infographic here, is that it's polar, isn't it? What about sort of intermediate towns and settlements? Let's call them settlements, where you do, and it sounds like I'm making the case for 15-minute cities here, which I am not. I'm not a fan of that agenda and other people telling us how we should live from remote offices and boardrooms and planning rooms who don't understand our lifestyle, basically aren't interested in other people's lives apart from just manipulating their way of, their ideology on people. I think we can rely on our own. On a good day, when some of the neoliberal factors are taken out of the picture, we behave in a naturally good way, I think. I mean, that is my view of human beings. And it's only when the sort of metaphorical water of the aquarium is being tipped out that the fish go to war on each other. Otherwise, we're maintaining balance and we live and let live. That's my view anyway. And this is another part of the problem here, isn't it? It's like either urban or it's rural, when in fact, could we not be living more rural lives with a little bit more infrastructure that doesn't quite turn it into some sort of densely urban place? There must be some middle ground and something a little bit more human scale available, which isn't just dependent on, corporate neoliberal motivations that seem to shape the way we live. I hope I'm making some sense, or maybe I just do sound like I'm ranting a little bit as well. But these are incredible figures here. That this is reassuring to know as well, isn't it? The life expectancy in Portugal, women expected to live to 85.3 years. Males always a shorter life expectancy, but 79.8 years combined at 82.7 years, the life expectancy. And wouldn't it be nice to think of that as a good old lifespan and something when you've adopted the Portuguese lifestyle that you might aspire to as well, whilst ending up possibly in the Good Morning. Have we still got that as a dream? The Good Morning Portugal retirement home? That could be a lot of fun, couldn't it, in years to come? Some people's worst nightmare, of course. And a cold kettle with faucet for just €1.34. What on earth has possessed Google to serve me that up as an ad? Although I do have to say the advertising has improved somewhat. and I don't get quite so many Viagra and hair transplant adverts as I used to. So let's move from worldometers.info. I will put that into the chat for you in case you want to have a look at that for yourself. But personally, I find that very interesting, and certainly from the point of view of how our lives are being shaped, as well as how we might shape them ourselves and what we might do in the future. There are turbulent forces at work, are there not? Socioeconomic factors that feel like they're out of our control, and it will be lovely, would it not, to feel like we've got more control over our destiny, and we are more resilient. Let's put it that way. We are more resilient to the shocks that have either come our way or have been imposed on us. Aha! Okay, thank you very much. And thank you for your Penacova pick as well. Possible site of a Gumper gathering. They'll say this in years to come. We should have a plaque system as well. Gumpers were spotted here in the year 2023. And it'll be AI that is able to detect the presence of Gumpers, and using a 3D printer, knock up a quick plaque and display it in these hallowed places where we've gathered and found ourselves back in the day. Here it is then. This is Penacova. This is a fantastic river beach, and love a Portuguese river beach. First thing in the morning or any other time. Thanks, Alamy. I thought this was your own picture. Penacova Beach right there. That wouldn't be a bad spot, would it, for a Gumper gathering? Some across that bridge there. That bridge, is that the one we've been across, Mrs. M? Is this just not too far from Coimbra? And that's a terrifying bridge. You get halfway across it and you think, well, I'm committed now. I might as well keep going. And then, yikes, I have a small child with me on my shoulders. This isn't very sensible. I'll just hold on tightly to them and not let them feel in any way I'm scared. And I'll just keep going and not look down. Don't look down. And we'll have Gumpers on the bridge. We'll have Gumpers on the beaches. I was sounding a bit like a Churchill speech. Gumpers on the beaches. And in the cafe there as well, there'll be some Gumper barflies in that cafe too. Thank you very much. Good suggestion. Others welcome for the Portugal Discovery Weekends. Let's see what's going on then, shall we, in the Portugal resident. We'll start there this morning in the last few moments, and we will have a God Squad video for you as well. And one more look at the Learn About Portugal quiz of the day. Tedros is in town and getting a... I'm going to go there unless somebody stops me, but first of all, I'm going to have a quick cough. Oh, there's Portugal's PSD leader calls for a gamble on higher wages. The gamble, presumably, there is how politicians are telling people you can't have any more wages because that will only have the spiral of inflation continue. What a load of old cobblers, eh? Why can't the monetary theory, in the way that monetary theory seems to work for governments, why can't it work for the people more generally? Just print some more of the stuff like Kate used to say on this show. Just print more money and give people more money and manage that. If it's all made up anyway, manage it in a positive way rather than... I mean, people are openly saying now, aren't they, that, well, we've got to tighten our belts. We've got to put interest rates up and like hurt people to correct their behavior. That can't be a way for human beings to be operating in 2023, can it? I suspect other agendas are at work here. Talking of which, World Health Organization boss Tedros G, let's call him his rap name. And he's blinging it there, isn't he, with his outfit? You might be able to see on the screen. Tremendous work, Portugal, in your response to COVID-19. And he's been given a doctorate at Coimbra University. And whilst going around the world peddling his permanent global platform, blah-de-blah, as well, the day after the European... This is my favourite writer. Good morning to you, Natasha. Dateline yesterday, Tedros G awarded honoris causa doctorate from Coimbra University the day after the European Council adopted a recommendation pushed by the World Health Organization for a permanent, this is in inverted commas, permanent global platform to verify health certificates, which no doubt will be connected to your bank account in time. Or am I going to Black Mirror there? From here on, the head of the organization that many now accept made far too many demands on countries in the name of COVID-19 was in Portugal to receive his honoris causa doctorate, involving what looked like a golden eiderdown around his shoulders. I don't think Natasha's a fan either. The award came from the Faculty of Medicine of Coimbra University in recognition of a man and an authority in the scientific area who has distinguished himself by the important leadership role he assumed during the COVID-19 pandemic. This description is by no means consensual, as many countries have come to the conclusion that they were misled, or they misled their populations, whether wittingly or un-Chris Whittingly. Measures imposed often made no sense. One particularly being that the vaccinated posed no threat, and by carrying a digital pass, they were somehow superior to the non-vaccinated. I remember those days. But the general focus is now moving on, not looking back at the misery wreaked in the name of tackling a sanitary crisis. Nonetheless, the EU is actively encouraging member states to join the WHO certificate network, which, say reports, would allow global access in the event of a future pandemic or health emergency. It's almost as if they're planning these, isn't it? Rather than being limited to the EU and other countries. I feel slightly sick, and I'm going to change over to the Portugal news now for a quick look before we conclude the show this morning. And yeah, I do go there. I go there if you don't call in on 913-590-303. Is that Lord Gilchrist trying to phone and sending me a message saying, I am trying to ring you? Pick up, Carl. I wonder. Let's see. Have I missed any calls? No, I haven't. Okay, so 913-590-303 this morning. Although we are running out of time. Oh, lovely picture from you, Lord Gilchrist, rather than a call this morning. with the traditional man club greeting. You got her to do that, you rascals. Okay. Portugal news. Celeste to invest in Portugal. She sounds like the star of exotic films, Celeste. According to Eco, Grupo Celeste, which has 11 stores. Oh, okay. In factories in Guimarães, Vizela, and Almazinde and Luxembourg. Oh, this is interesting. So a big company. Let's find out what they do. Grupo Celeste. I'll bring this onto the screen so you can see it as well. And let's have a look. Portugal news. We've done the Portugal resident. Let's go to the Portugal news, where part of the fun is always seeing what it says in the comments. You need a comment section, Portugal resident. I would. And let's have a look at Celeste. What do they do here, and what are they planning to do in Portugal? It's turnover of 25 million, this company, and is expanding its industrial capacity here in Portugal with more than 50 years of experience. Oh, hold on a minute. We have a call incoming. Hello, caller. Who are you and where are you?
Well, I think you might recognize my dulcet tones, I believe.
2-minute tasters! Douglas!
2-minute taster!
Lovely boy!
How are you? Long time no hear, no see.
I am very well, although I'm suddenly thinking to myself, Doug has phoned in to tell us what a gumper means, having looked at the Urban Dictionary late last night. Is that the reason why you've called in, Doug?
Well, it might have been one of the reasons.
Okay, what were the others? Let's start with those.
I just phoned in just to check in on everybody and say hello, and that I'm, gradually on the mend and all of that.
You sound proper chipper, Doug. It's so good to hear you in fine fettle. In case people didn't know, you had a tumble, didn't you, on a motorbike?
Oh, yes, I had a nasty tumble. I shouldn't have been on it in the first place, to be honest, but the motorbike belonged to my son.
Right.
And it was quite a powerful machine, which I wasn't used to. And I paid the price by having a pelvic fracture and a cracked hip and all the rest of it.
My goodness.
So, yeah, it's going to be a long process of getting better, but I'm mobile now.
Excellent. I'm so glad you've made a good recovery. What's your secret for anyone getting over sort of major surgery and a shock of that kind? What's been your secret formula, Doug?
Do you know what? I haven't got a secret formula except just to try and do everything that you're told by the physicians and try and keep a positive frame of mind. Very, very difficult when you're lying there on your bed and you're surrounded by other patients who are in various stages of disrepair.
My
it's not a good place to be.
No, absolutely. So glad to have you here chatting with us and sounding on great form. So yes, you've checked in, and people will be glad to hear that you're on the mend. What else have you got for us this morning?
Well, we could sort of. I think shall we allow everybody listening in to check out the Urban Dictionary for Gumperdom for themselves, because I think it would be kind of inappropriate, wouldn't it?
Well, you know, as soon as it's like a plan being hatched in a pub, isn't it? Like that would be that would be inappropriate, wouldn't it? Yeah, let's do it. But the great thing is, the great thing is that I can actually distance myself and just have you take responsibility for this. So, what is this we see before us then, Doug, on the screen? You've got a screenshot from the Urban Dictionary. Pete, who's on the screen now, asking you, "How are your sheep coping with the heat, Doug?" As often,
sheep.
Go on, carry on. Sorry.
I haven't got any sheep.
He hasn't got any sheep. So
I've got a few cows on some of our land, but no sheep as it happens.
Okay, well, Pete often confuses gumpers with gimpers and has done ever since the beginning. And this has taken another turn, hasn't it? So can you see the screen? And do you want to read this out so that I don't have to?
Well, I can't see the screen now because I'm using my mobile phone, which I use for the show as well. So,
okay.
No, if I was sat in front of the telly, I could. Okay. But basically, I was surprised I just did it just sort of just to kill time, and I wonder if there's an actual word gumper. Yeah. And I put it in to the old Google. And there it was, as shown on the screen. I'm going to get rid of it. Doug, I can't do it. I actually can't do it. We have to have an extraordinary annual general meeting to go in. Yes. We have to launch an inquiry, I think, immediately, don't we? We have set ourselves out. Well, we could, yeah. Maybe we could spell it differently or something, with 2 M's or something like that. Or in a Welsh way, with a Y instead of a U. No, if it was a Welsh one, it would be a gumpar. It would be a gumpar. Gumpar. Okay, well, we'll have to. It'll be a gumpar, yeah. We need to bring together a world-leading team of etymologists, I think, and we can. We can become an expert in a new field, as we've had to do over the last decade or so, and we'll move into etymology, and we'll lock everything down until we've come up with a solution. How about that? Yeah, sure, that sounds like a plan. That's what everybody else seems to do, so we might as well follow suit. Yes, hard and fast, I think, is what Matt Hancock wants to do to us in the future. Okay, Doug, thank you so much for calling in. Really appreciate it. Okay, and thanks for taking the call, and good morning to everybody, and have a wonderful day. Okay, cheers. And you have the question has come up: is that Windsor Davis? Which is an understanding. Anyone who watched It Ain't Half Hot Mum will understand that reference this morning. Cheers, Doug. Take care. Lovely boy. Ciao, ciao. Bye for now, mate. There he goes. Bon dia. Bon dia. Ciao, ciao. Fantastic. So he doesn't have any sheep. And never, I say, James is on it straight away. Never confuse a gumper with a gumper. They are clearly not. No, having seen the definition, I hope they're not the same. James, who does that? We may, in retrospect, redefine the designation of pandemic attached to COVID for what it was, a collusive collaboration of corporations and said organizations, which should now be reviewed. They are doing an inquiry, aren't they? Let's take another call this morning from the capital, I think. Who are you? Where are you?
Lovely boy. It's Lord Gilchrist calling you this morning.
Hello, Lord Gilchrist. Do I need to stand? All rise.
No, you're fine.
Right, thank you very much. So, what did you want to say? What did you want to share with us this morning?
I was just a quick one, really. I know she's on the screen, but myself and Prof. Eusebio met up with Nubinette last night.
Fantastic.
We'll have a little mini soiree around Lisbon. In the beautiful weather was this evening, slightly hazy because of the smoke over from Canada, but we had a lovely evening. I just want to say it was a pleasure to meet up with Nubinette last night, and she's having a sort of final day around Lisbon today before she heads out back to California. And we happened across a little ale bar, and I enjoyed some libations, some pretty strong libations last night as well.
Oh, good for you!
Hi, Louisa.
Which highlights can you speak of? Your favorite libations?
Well, this was a little ale bar down in Baisha, downtown, and it was called Canil.
Oh, yeah.
It's only a little place, but they have a huge range of real ales, and it's a nice change from the kind of ubiquitous Sagres or Superbock.
Yeah.
Although there's nothing wrong with them, it's nice, change as good as the rest.
Yeah.
So it was a little sort of pre drinks for we had a dinner on a street near where she was staying, which is again, it's kind of not far from Prasa Commercial. So
and it is wonderful.
It
is wonderful, isn't it, to meet Gumpers, and I use the term advisedly, in the flesh. After knowing people for so long on the screen, to finally meet them is wonderful. And she's especially great, isn't she, Nubian? Let's face it. And we want her back, don't we?
Well, she's welcome back anytime, as far as I'm concerned.
So there you go. It's official.
One other promise to yourself is I've been intending.
Oh. Go on. You've been intending?
Work and other things. However, my semester is coming to an end. Hopefully, by this end of this week. So I may be able to head up there next week or the week after.
Oh, cool! So finally, you dropped out a little bit there, but if you come next week, Garvo, the great Garvo, is at the meetup, so it'll be wonderful to see you.
Yeah, if I can, or failing out the week after. But my intention has been for a long time is to actually get up there when I can, and finally take you off my Man Cave bingo list.
Absolutely, it's been too long. Have we ever met in the flesh? Didn't we meet once before?
No, sadly not.
We've never actually met in person.
Sadly, this has been like so many things that are on my list to do, which is a never-ending, seemingly incredible long list.
Yeah,
is actually to head up to see you guys.
It's incredible.
Up in that part.
I
actually haven't been to SNDP either.
Oh, that's good. You must come then. You must come. And I just can't believe that. I feel like I know you so well that we have actually met. It's got to that, so we need to do something about that. And so please, come along. If you can come next week when the great Garvo here, that will be even better. I'm not sure I can take any more pleasure than that, what that day will represent. And Nubianette, I've got one more question for you, Lord Gilchrist, but we've got to stop talking about Nubianette because she needs to pack. Stop! She says, I need to pack. Cousin Andrew is a sweetie. This is how she refers to you. Once I can have beer again, I think I can outdrink him. Well, we should perhaps video that because that will be a pretty interesting evening. And
right.
Yeah,
I accept that challenge, madam.
Hey, you heard it here first. Okay, brilliant. So one more thing, as Columbo used to say at the end of the show, we have this, or I have an idea, and you're a really great example of it, how it is that finally you've met up with Nubianette, the prof as well, and Nubianette's met up with a few people from the community whilst being here. And we pride ourselves on it, don't we, on having a strong community here and the friendships that have been made. And I want to reach out from the morning audience to the evening or the later in the day audience, because most people watching this show are seeing it on replay. And we've got these two worlds, haven't we? We've got the morning world of these well-known characters like yourself, Lord Gilchrist, and Nubianette, Squire of the Shires, T Duck, James, Coach Turner. These are names and people. These are phenomena that people know, and we have this world of mystery. And I want something like a pen pal system. I mean, you are a great advocate and example of this, of how you've reached out. How can we connect the two worlds, Lord Gilchrist?
Well, it's funny. I was pondering this very thing because on our Friday evening craziness, we have some live viewers, which still is incredible. And then most of our viewership is on catch up. I guess at a more convenient time. The reality is the reason that we carry on with Man Cave, it's formed a little community, a bond of these kind of migrant or expats or however people like to refer to.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that I like to kind of network. I guess it's just something I've always liked to do is meet people and kind of show my face, puts a name to the face kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's like Victoria Benson. Somehow, we've yet to actually paths cross, and I hopefully one time that will happen. So, but I'm pondering this very problem, Carl. How the kind of the local faces can meet the not so local faces, and I think it needs to be one enormous barbecue or something like that. It needs everyone to have like one day a year where they join a massive hog roast or a barbecue or a beach party or something like that. I'm not sure. I'm pondering this very problem.
All right.
now.
We have some great minds here, so we'll come up with a solution for this. And what you're talking about also leans into the Discover Portugal weekends. So it does sound like the lunar landing. It's one immense barbecue and one giant step for mankind. So yes, one giant barbecue and one giant step for Gumperdom on these Discovery weekends. And let's find a way. Please, if you're watching this later on, and if you've watched it this far, I mean, let's add that. Please say hi in the comments, and let's connect you up with somebody from the morning crew, and let's deepen that connection that we have, rather than having these two separate worlds. And it's the same with the Man Cave as well. So good work, Lord Gilchrist. I think, can you stay with me as I ask the question once again from Learn About Portugal, and maybe share one or two dad jokes with you? Is that all right?
Of course. Just one other quick thing, very quickly.
Yeah, of course.
I saw a post from Jazz from Quinto Essencial this morning. They've got an opening date for their shop. I'm sure he's going to want to get lots of support for that. And I've just got to go and look on Insta because I can't remember the date, but it's coming up. I think it was the weekend of, not this weekend. I think it's next weekend.
Yeah,
the Saturday 8th.
Great news. So next time he speaks to us, I'm sure he'll be speaking from an open shop, and we might even get to meet some of the customers. I mean, it lends itself to a Netflix series, doesn't it? Quinta Essencial, and all the characters that we'll be meeting in central Portugal there. So well done, Jace.
Yeah, Jazz and Oriel and Effie are lovely, and I wish them all success, and we'll certainly be customers of theirs for sure.
Brilliant. That's quite a drive for you, though, isn't it, to the shop?
Well, it's about an hour and a half. I mean, to be fair, when I used to live in Australia, 8 hours in one direction was up the road. So for me, Portugal's quite a manageable size.
Excellent. All right, let me ask you this question then. The Learn About Portugal quiz question of the day today. Quite simply, Lord Gilchrist, what or where is the middle or center of Portugal? And you can see this on the screen here. The answer has been framed, which you can see from the image that is there on the screen right now. And you can see it also at learnaboutportugal.com. Is it Lisbon, the center middle of Portugal? Is it Vila de Rei? Is it Pastéis de Belém? Is it Cristiano Ronaldo? Or is it Fatima? Do you want to have a guess at that while you're with us?
Well, I do like a Pastéis de Belém. I love Lisbon. Cristiano Ronaldo, I've never visited. And also Fatima, I've never visited. But I suspect it's Vila de Rei.
All right.
That's the answer.
Who doesn't like to leave it? Who doesn't like to leave it hanging?
Lisbon is my centre of Portugal, so
understood. Yes, that is where your life and your love life is, so I can completely understand that. But we'll have to leave it hanging there, and who doesn't like to leave it hanging there first thing in the morning? Thank you, Lord Gilchrist. Finally, then, some fabulous dad jokes to share. You can use these in the tradition of the dad joke and inflict them on other people as you go about your business today. A shepherd was moving his flock through town when he got a ticket for making a U-turn. I should have shared that with Doug. Very good. I broke one. Go on.
Get the flock out of there.
Get the flock out of here. I broke one of the legs on my tripod. I can't stand it now, for the photographers among us. And I got a job as a security guard, finally. They told me to watch The Office. I'm already up to season 6. Very good. A lot of security guards do watch a lot of Netflix, I'm sure. They probably have a niche, don't they, of people doing nights watching streaming services. It's quite a big market, I suspect. Lord Gilchrist, thank you so much for being here. We're finally going to go to the next the latest instalment of the God Squad program. Can I probe you for a moment? Are you doing anything to ensure your health and well-being from a fitness point of view?
Actually, I am. I've taken to having a daily routine of making sure I take the dog to our local park.
Great.
And they've got that special kind of fenced-off dog area where you can let them run loose. But that means I'm walking there at least twice a day. As you know from pictures, the dog is 60 kilos. It's a big lump of a thing. So
workout.
It's quite a workout to handle her sometimes. But also, come rain and shine, I take her on regular routine exercises, which for me, where I work from a seated position, is quite good to combat the calories. And also, I've been reducing my intake. So I typically eat once a day, sometimes twice a day. But I've actually lost in a year since I came to Portugal. I've dropped from 105 kilos down to 91.
And
so 14 kilos.
That's
pounds,
great.
like
That is great. And we have, it's not a campaign exactly, but we've borrowed this idea of the freshman 15 about how university goers and college goers in the United States tend to put on 15 pounds. Some have estimated coming to Portugal has you putting on 15 kilos. But that is great work, Lord Gilchrist, Andy. I'm impressed by that. And you are doing, the coach would approve because you're doing something you enjoy, right? And you're not cutting back on some of your pleasures in life. Well, you are cutting back, but you're not getting rid of them completely. So taking the dog out for a walk, being a bit more mindful about what you eat.
The thing is I blame the 105 kilos on actually. So now I'm here full time. I've got to mind that and to stuff here. It's very easy to enjoy excessively. What the more challenging thing is to kind of do it with an eye on my sort of ongoing aging and health and everything else. So I hit 50 years old this year, so I'm now in that club where it's like, okay, I have to become kind of a bit more sensitive to me and my physical form as well. So
yeah, it's true. It's true. The muscle mass is dwindling. Not you personally, but that's a general phenomenon. After 40, the coach tells us. He will be proud of you and the approach and the mindfulness that you're applying to this. So keep us in touch with what's going on for you and share any tips, Lord Gilchrist. Been fantastic joining you, and we'll see what we can do to hook you up with somebody from the Watch Later crew, both here and on the Man Cave, and we'll get those communities united. Cheers, Andy. Have a great day in the capital.
See you soon.
All right, chuffing out. There he goes, Lord Gilchrist. As I said, Coach Turner will be very proud and interested, and I think complimentary towards the Lord Gilchrist there. Let's go to him now with the 3 basic principles of the God Squad program. Grey Watch, we've also called it. And growing old disgracefully, a bit of gentle fitness for the bon viveurs. Do something you love and get the support of this community here. So we've got a little video with the 3 basic principles that the course is based on from Coach Turner. See you tonight with Sarah Davey from 7:30 and the Dream Team from 9. And we'll have some Feel Good Friday fun tomorrow. And don't forget to go and guess that question. You can do it on Instagram. You can do it on Twitter. You can do it on Facebook. You can do it on YouTube even. But best still, or the best option, and get involved at Learn About Portugal. Go guess the answer there. Where is the centre? Where is the middle of Portugal? Have a great day. Bye for now.
So I wanted to introduce you to the basic principles of this course, which are based around the 3 core activities, or 3 core aims for just about any fitness, and they form also the core of an athlete's requirements, which are stamina, speed and strength. 3 S's. There's 2 more which athletes need: suppleness and skill. And skill is sadly under emphasized for a lot of athletes, but we won't go there today. It's not what we're trying to do. So those 3, stamina, speed, strength, are the 3 areas we're going to concentrate on, and we'll do them in different modules so that you can look at one in isolation and begin to learn from it, but they're all linked, of course, so as is all this stuff. So we'll start off looking at stamina, which will be based primarily around walking, though of course there are other activities that can help with that. We'll then begin to look at speed, and some of the interesting research that's been done over the last few years into something called high intensity interval training. Athletes have always done interval training, whether they be distance athletes or sprinters or throwers. We've always done that, but what's become clear over the last few years in the research is that it actually makes a massive difference to your metabolism as you age. It really helps. So adding a bit of speed to your activity is really important. And lastly, strength. I've noticed, I'm 64 now, I've noticed my strength reducing over the last few years because I didn't train for it. That may sound strange for someone who does a bit of athletics, and I do still occasionally compete. But I'm now having to do strength training, which I've never done before. So doing simple strength exercises, and they can be from the very basics, they don't have to be hard, will really benefit you as you age. And so we'll have a look at strength in a later module. So we'll try and put those all together finally into activities that you can do every day. Simple stuff. You don't need to be at a track like this. I'll show you around. Here's our outdoor track, and that's the indoor one where we did some other films. We're very blessed to have these facilities. You don't need those. So we'll look at the 3 S's in sequence and then try and stitch them all together.